Thanks for listening to Carlie's Couch. We're glad you're here with us. I see you try to switch it up a little bit today for those watching the video, if you can even see it.
Oh, yeah. So if you've been following me on social media for any length of time or know me at all in life, you know that I'm not a fan of pants, and I actually abhor jeans. And today is the first podcast video.
This the first time
I've ever worn jeans.
Yeah, I guess that's a big deal then.
It is. In like 65, 64, whatever, how many episodes this is.
Oh, man.
Your girl finally broke down and wore jeans. So RIP to bare legs out here, or tight legs. So here we are. I'm a little disappointed.
What is it that you don't like about jeans?
I mean, I've just never liked jeans. Like, ever since I was little, like, I went to a Christian school, and free day, you got to wear jeans, and everybody be mad excited, and I'd be like, why? I just.
But what about it?
I don't know. They're just constrict. I don't like clothes in general. But they're like constricting and
it's not comfortable too.
Yeah, but they also like fit weird. Like, it's always like they're always tight on my thighs and like different things. And so it's hard for me to find a good pair of jeans. Shout out to Lala. I guess and my dad also, but Lala bought me like my one pair of jeans that I had for like the last year, for my birthday last year.
That's funny.
So I had jeans, not jeans, just jean. So shout out to Lanicia.
So is it those?
No, that's why I was like, oh, I guess my dad actually like got the second pair, so now I have jeanses. But Lala got the first one. If you haven't left us a review yet and you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a review so we can shout you out on the podcast. If you're going to leave stars, please leave 5. Sometimes people leave 3 and it's like, it's the most amazing podcast ever. 3 stars.
I mean, it's like, do you, but you just didn't have to put it there. Like, send me an email instead. It's cool.
I appreciate you. So yes, please leave us a review. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, subscribe at carliescouch.com. If you have any questions, ideas on topics, or just any general feedback or quality roasts for Lex and I, please hit us up on the website. There's a box for that.
Yep. And as we continue with just getting our lives together and mentally preparing for a new year and just like, what are we doing, man? How can we do better? We're going to talk about money, which is an area that a lot of us could do better, or an area where a lot of us can assess how we've done, what we're doing, and if we want more of it, how can we do better?
All about the Benjamins, baby. That's all I can think of is like all these corny money references. So y'all will get one of them on the title. We'll see.
Not if I'm editing. No, it'll probably be there because I don't want to do it.
Okay, good. You stifling my corny creativity.
You got it.
So why is money important? Like, why is talking about this important?
It's important to talk about money and finances just because it's such a big part of what drives our society and drives the well-being, whether, you agree with that or not agree with it. It's what drives your ability to function, grow, do anything in our society. And so it's, I think, one of the most important things. And yet there is a lot of either stigmas attached to having a lot of it, not having enough of it. There may be shame involved. There's, it's something that we learn about if you went to Sunday school. It's something that you probably learned about regardless of how you grew up. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you didn't learn about it, which is why maybe you struggle with it. But it's something that I think we can have more conversations about or around because, we got to figure it out.
Yeah, we do. We live in a system that a very capitalistic society where money, you need it to live, whether you agree or disagree with capitalism or whatever. You're going to have to pay that rent. You're going to have to pay for food and all of those things.
We could tweet all day about capitalism, but I need some bread at the end of the day. Like
literally and figuratively, I need all of that bread.
You still got to make that money. So today we're going to kind of talk about like our own financial journeys and budgeting and all that kind of stuff as far as we know, because I'm definitely not an expert on it.
No, ma'am.
But it's something that I've been really focused on this year. And so I think that's going to be like my angle towards is the stuff I'd recently put in place. But of course, over time, like how I've grown in my relationship with it, because I definitely realized that a lot of us have beliefs about money that at some point typically need to be addressed to make sure that you do have the right beliefs about it if getting more of it or saving more of it is what you want to do. So I think it's important to at least understand where you are with it.
Yeah, and I think that is the most important place to start. I was reading a book by Jen Sincero, You're a Badass, and she was just talking about like abundance. And working on transitioning your mindset to a healthy relationship with money. And it was like, well, what is your relationship with money? And I hadn't really ever thought of it from that perspective directly. Like I was thinking about like the mindset of lack versus a mindset of abundance, and transitioning, like knowing if you, for example, so like me, I didn't come from money, a lot of it at all, like bottom quartile of income, poverty, pretty much below the poverty line. And so thinking about money is I never had a lot of it. And so in my own journey, I've uncovered that I had some fears about maybe not knowing what to do with it if I got a whole bunch of it, or struggling with managing it, or can I even get this much money like to do all these things that I want to do? And so really starting with your mindset of where you are with the financial discussion in general, but also at a very basic level, just with money.
And are there any certain mindsets that you think people may be able to recognize and that something they need to change?
Yeah, I would say one of the key signs that there's something you need to work on is if you get uncomfortable talking about money, like hella uncomfortable, or like don't even want to look at your finances, or don't want to do whatever. I think that's a key indicator that there is some type of mindset or relationship that needs to be changed or looked at when it comes to money.
That's funny. I would say, so that's not what I was asking, but I'll come back to that because what you're saying is important too. I think what you're answering is like, how do you know if you need to like assess your relationship with money? And I think the easiest and straightforward answer to that is if you don't have any, if you're not getting any, or if you're not okay with what you're getting or making, it may be your relationship with it. And so things that I think that are limiting beliefs around money that are very common, a couple are that having money is bad.
Yeah.
That rich people are evil people. And I'm not talking about some billionaires and zillionaires necessarily, because that's a different combo. But we can use that to limit ourselves to not even be making $100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another one is that there is more value in being in making it in the survival, and kind of viewing that as a moral thing where it's like, you know, what is it? God, blessed are the meek and poor in spirit and stuff like that, right? When people kind of take that like in a way where it's like, you know I'm gonna be blessed because I'm struggling type thing. And I think that being comfortable in that is pushing away abundance. And I think another relationship thing, and this is something that I heard again on a podcast. I'm always like referring to some other random podcast, but one thing that somebody said that. And you know how we are, like we kind of, know stuff, but it's like sometimes it just hits a little different. And then one thing a guy said, he was like, when it comes to money, think about like how you talk about it, like literally how do you talk about money? And he was like, if you were on a date with money right now, you were talking about the way you talk about like, oh man, it's so hard to get money, or I don't have any, or I never get money, or whatever you're saying. Not even just like that, but like just how do you talk about money? He's like, would that date want to stay on the date with you? Like, are you in a receiving space where you're talking and you're feeling like, you're open to it and you enjoy money? I love money. I like making money. And I think a lot of times there's like a shame and stigma of people saying, I want money, or I like money. You know what I mean? So I think those things kind of hinder us, whether we're like really directly hindered or kind of just in a subconscious way. It's always like, yeah, I'm good, or like, I don't need to have too much, stuff like that, where it's like, bro, you want to live abundant or not?
And a lot of these come, subconsciously. So growing up not having a lot of money, or growing up really heavy in the church, like money is the root of all evil. No, like the love of money and greed and all of those things is what. Anyways, that's a whole other discussion. But the things that we hear, the way we heard our parents talk about money and our grandparents, and the things that they're struggling, like if you ever saw them struggling for, or, we didn't have a lot and I don't need that much to be happy. Like I'm good with my little, my little shack and all these things. It's like,
or don't ask for too much. Like it's wrong to ask for more.
And it's like, what limits have you subconsciously or consciously put on yourself that keep you from receiving abundance or from leveling up in ways, like, for example, even going in for job offers and being like, well, I can't ask for that. That's too much money. But knowing that you've done your research and that's an industry average, but you don't feel confident asking for that much, or even pricing services. Like, there's no way anybody would ever pay me this much. But you done did all that all this work, all this research. You are very accomplished. Like, why would they not pay those things? So really stepping back.
Like, why are you okay with not getting that, or with not even asking for
exactly
that. When the next man behind you is definitely gonna be like, I need 70K, sir.
Exactly.
Right, and they're gonna be like, okay.
But it's like,
because that's what they had budgeted for it.
Or they might have even more, but you came in at 50, they had 150, and now they sitting back with an extra 100K to do whatever. But it's like taking the limits off of yourself that you either, like I said, subconsciously or very consciously put into place to allow you to receive abundance. Like if you worry about money, you're talking noise about it, like Lex was saying, on a date with, like if you were on a date with it, like why would it come to you? Or if you're too scared of what you're gonna do. Not?
And I think we act like everything, or not everything, but you know what I mean? Like we're working hard to make money. We want to help other people. We want to help our families do these things. But it's like, yo, we act like we want to make money, but do you really want to make money? Because the way you're feeling about it and talking about it isn't in that space to like really bring it to you, like really receive it. So the mindsets, I think, and that narrative is something to explore. And that's something for me in my journey has been a long time. Like, and so now we can kind of talk about like how we are with money or have been, because with me, when it comes to like making money, I feel like I've always been okay at making it. Like I've always had a job if I needed it, always made it if I needed it for something. And even now, if I need it, I can make it, and I can always find it very quickly. Notice I just kept saying when I need it, till I need it, right? And so my issue has been that I always sucked at saving it and or using it appropriately. So I was the kid out of me and my two brothers. I was the one who, when I got any money, I just went and straight up got candy, or I just got stuff, right? And I believe it was Ashton, the middle brother, who would save his. Like, they would have money. Like, they actually have money. And I think maybe the younger one a little bit more, too. But I would always just spend. And even now, like, that's my biggest issue is, like, just spending it. Even if I just got it or didn't have it yesterday. But if I got it now, I'm going to go ahead and do this and do that. Yeah, like, it's just ridiculous. But over time, with different resources and things, I just pay more attention to, like, all right, what else is there? Because our thing too is my parents, I mean, God bless them, like, and now they are like, oh, it's funny because everything, like I talk about them with their food and all that, but with money, and my parents, they done did all the like Dave Ramsey. They don't have no credit cards, no debt, like they own everything. Yo. They, they don't have to pay car payments and stuff like that, right? So they feel good about that stuff, and they like that for them. But growing up, it was very much like, hey guys, we might not be able to go out to eat as much. Cool. And like, I wasn't really ever thinking about it as like a money issue. And I was just used to like, this is kind of how things are. And so I don't think I'd ever really wanted a whole lot necessarily. Like, I'm not like, oh man, I need a lot of money. And I think some people in those circumstances do end up getting either super hungry for it or they get comfortable. And for me, I always have felt comfortable. And so it's not till I'm at a rock bottom situation, which I've had lots of in my life, that then I'm like, oh man, I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want to live like this. I want to make more and save better and not ever be in a situation again. And like, it's been times when I've been like miles away from home and literally like $0 and like, why am I here like this? How did I get like this? Like, and it ain't no fly out story, nothing like that. But like, it's like, why? But it takes a lot for me to then say I'm gonna do something different with money for whatever reason. And so I'd spent time and reading and doing different things, trying different things, all that to, at 34, kind of really try to get it together now. Such is life. But then I got a lot of friends who's like, they done flipped 10 houses already and they working and you know what I mean? But it's just all different. And I think everybody's life is very different. And I think most people ain't getting it like they acting like they're getting it or talking like they're getting it. Most so, people. Don't feel like you're comparing or need to pay that much attention to stuff people say online at all. But yeah, that's kind of like my thing with it. And my struggle has been the same now that I can look back and like think about it. And
I love that you shared that. So interesting because like coming from a place of comfort and how that's like affected you. But I think a lot of our parents either like were struggling or whatever, but always like we didn't think about it as much. Like, you know what I mean? Like how much they had to make stretch.
You either really, really felt it or you didn't. Because when you also, a lot of friends, like if they also didn't really have their parents there or their parents' affection or love too, then that's totally different versus where like, oh, I felt like everything's cool because our family's cool, we're still doing stuff. Yeah. But it wasn't that we were spending a lot.
And so mine is the opposite. So it's like my mom, you know, I already said it was like tumultuous growing up, but money was always a point of contention. So whenever my stepfather was there, they fought all the time about money, and I was just like, money's not that important.
You grow up knowing money's like a problem.
Yeah, and so that was my thought with it. I was always stressed out, like, oh my God, how am I gonna pay this dentist bill? Because I was on like the state insurance, and like we getting the thing, the dentist people calling me, and I don't have money. I'm, you know, in middle school, and now I'm stressed, right? Thank you. Exactly. So like I've always had this like stressful thought that money was like this terrible thing, because people would literally like fight over it, and my mom was working 3 jobs. I never got to see her, so I also was like, man, fuck that stuff. But as I've worked on it, and also like not allowing myself to have like the really nice things, like I was like, man, Carlie, you cannot spend $100 on shoes, like you know what I'm saying, like you've been without before, like ain't had no food, so what you look like spending money on shoes? And so I've came a long way in healing my mindset and my relationship with the thought of getting money, of making money, of being worth all of the money and the things that come from the things that I'm doing. But managing it is a whole other issue that I'm working on. So I think the first step for me was like learning how to change that relationship, first realizing that it was an issue, and then taking steps to mend that relationship and know that I'm worthy of abundance, and that money can be a beautiful thing when used correctly and invested in all of this, and it doesn't have to have such negative connotations in my mind or life, and then allowing it to grow from there. So, you know, at a ripe 30, about to be 31, I'm trying to get my life together again with money.
Yeah, and I think personally what's missing for me right now, because I think there are still some beliefs that are holding me back a little bit, and it must be something around consistently like having that cushion, because I tend to, like I said, I know I can make it, so it's like, oh, this is coming up, let me, you know, make a sale or do this or do that, and I can have it to take care of what I need to take care of. But why is it not like, and every time I do this, I ask myself, why don't I do this every day? Like, let me make a sale today, let me make a sale today, let me make a sale today. But I'll go like 2 months before I'm like really focused on like, oh, you know. And so, you know, questioning that, and, you know, do I really not want the money? Or like, am I, you know, what am I doing? So that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out right now. Earlier this year in an episode, I guess it was probably an episode this year, seeing as it's November, but probably as we started with our goals earlier, one of my biggest ones when I had the map in my planner was around my finances. That's the one I mapped out as like my most important thing to kind of figure out and make more of a plan around. And I'm probably not exactly like where, or no, it just took forever to really get started. But once I did, I'm kind of in a good groove with it now.
Why did it take so long to get started?
Just because, so I did make the first step finally to be like, reach out to George and say, hey, like I want to work with you to get my stuff in order, right? But then some of the first couple tasks of filling out, all right, where is all my money now in different places? What accounts do I have? How much am I spending now on stuff? Like a lot of the beginning stuff was just like, I was like, oh, I'm not looking at it. I wasn't making my budget or filling it out like he told me to do. And I was like, bro, that's wild. Like it's like I was hyped and I knew I need to do this. I made a jump and I think I kind of felt good. Like, okay, I made an initial jump. But then I let so much time go by before I really got it started. But then once I did, it's like, oh, I'm more aware to so much stuff. So one thing that he has or that we have is our budget, which anybody can make, right? Like that's not the secret sauce of his stuff at all. But and quite frankly, his secret sauce to me is just helping me be accountable, because them emails definitely be unread. But I'm gonna get to you, George. I swear.
Before the end of this episode.
Man, you'd be like, did you not see my last? Like, dog, I know, George. I'm gonna get it. And I'm avoiding it. Like, I'll avoid because, like, I don't want to look at my thing.
Absolutely.
But, you know, making your budget and it saying everything is on there. Like, obviously, your rent, your water, your gas, phone, Uber, transportation, travel, all this, right? And we filled it out with what we're going to try to do. And I just remember from, like, October, I think, for example. In October, I think that was the first month that I actually tracked my spending. And so I was writing down every little thing I spent. And I learned so much just from doing that, because I didn't realize how many transactions I'm literally making, because a lot of times it's like a quick Venmo this, Venmo that, or like cash. Like if I got $80 back at the ATM at the grocery store, for example, now when I spend that cash, you're not really thinking about it like it's pulling money out, but now I'm writing every little thing, like no matter how I got it or what I'm using. And so I'm like, oh, like this is kind of adding up. And it was interesting to me because I saw what things I was realistic about my budget and like what things was under and what things were way over. And so I was like, oh, okay, like this is helpful because now I know like what the issue is.
Yeah. That's good. I think where I'm at is, so I made a budget earlier this year, like actually the beginning of the year, because I was like, okay, I want to do this. But then, I fell off and started avoiding reading all of those things and looking at any of it and looking at my spending, because I had a nice little plan. Like I made a cool little spreadsheet, had everything. And
Where'd you get it from? Like what was your guide for how you made your stuff?
I've been trying to get better at finances for a long time. So it's a mix of like the spreadsheeting and the Excel tricks and things I've learned in B school. So I feel kind of fancy when I make it. But I also, when I first started, I just Googled like a general budget. I think like Mint and probably Acorn, like probably a bunch of apps like have ones you can just download and fill out and personalize. But I made one in Excel and was like updating it and feeling good, and I didn't feel good, and I've been avoiding it. But at the end of the year, I'm going to get it together and I'm going to be okay with it.
Do you have, so I don't know if it's fair to ask you this. I was going to say, do you have any tips about like making the budget? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say, you should always have a miscellaneous, because you inevitably spend money on things that you do not plan to spend money on, whether it's an oil change or a tire or Uber or a dinner with a client or, potential client or somebody that, you might have had to spend a little bread on or whatever those things are. So, the things for sure. So your rent, like you have your rent, your phone, your insurance, all of those things, your entertainment budget. It's super basic, but I think my biggest thing for me is the miscellaneous. And I'm glad you mentioned about the Venmo and the Cash App stuff, because I don't even know if I have that in my spreadsheet.
What would you put in there for that? Well, it's not the Venmo,
no,
it's
I
what
know,
you're spending it on.
But like double checking it to make sure I'm inputting all those charges.
Oh, okay.
When you said that, I was like, I don't remember the last time I looked at that shit.
And that's why I wrote it down, because he, my financial guy, has his own or the dashboard we use, right? That automatically shows where it's coming from, and I can tell it, when I swipe for that 20, I can at this place, like that was a grocery store, so then it knows that's groceries, right?
Yeah.
But then when I Venmo or then when I use cash, that's not really shown accurately. So that's why I did that, to make sure like what is it really accurate, because I know I'd be out here on some like all different cards and stuff,
wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm gonna Venmo you this, Venmo back to me from this account so I can do this. Like everything is everywhere outside of what was pulling directly from my accounts in that. So I wanted it to be accurate.
I have one more tip.
Okay.
And the other tip I would say is to pay yourself first. Like my grandpa taught me that, like 10%, like you can change that and figure out, but I like at least 10% of everything I make, like I save or put aside or put towards things for me. So making sure I pay myself before I pay anything else.
Some other tips too for like creating the actual budget, like what things you're going to put in there. I like the miscellaneous because stuff always does happen. But another thought that I would say to you too is to consider that there's a lot out there about, cut this, cut that. And I don't think a budget has to be strenuous. Like if I tell somebody, I'm budgeting, just like with dieting, like people are like, oh man, what are you doing? I'm like, no, I'm just mean I know where my money's going.
Exactly.
Like knowing where your money's going is budgeting. And quite frankly, I don't be knowing where it's going, which is why I'm always like, oh, like I don't have any today, or just like those memes where it's like, got paid yesterday, swiped once at the store, and now you have like $100. And it's like, oh, like I don't know what happened. Now I know what happens because I catch myself and waking up and I'm like, I bought 20 things today because I knew I got paid. And like, why did I do that? Anyway, so that being said, when you make your budget, you don't have to cut out the Starbucks. Like I'm not a fan of like, save that extra $3. Like, nah, like do what you enjoy. And then just make sure it's responsible, being real with knowing what has to come out. Like, what things have to get done. And so what do you have left? With mine, what ended up happening is that, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but like my budget was super under, or like my spending was super under on entertainment, because I looked at the whole month and I went to movies one time and I realized entertainment for me is eating. So it was really the dining out, which was 6 times more than I budgeted.
Sheesh.
6 times more than I budgeted. This month for November, well, no, it's December, but we recorded. So in November, I hit my dining out budget by like the 12th, I think, like almost halfway through. So I was like, but from that, I recognized I didn't even get all my grocery budget. So I said, oh, let me add a little to the groceries. And I added more to my dining out to keep it real, right? So I was like, let me keep it real. But also let me add a little bit more to the groceries. And if I stuck to the grocery budget, I probably wouldn't eat out as much.
Yeah.
That's wrong because I definitely, I definitely went past it like a little bit more still, but not like 6 times over.
That's good.
So it was a little progress. But I started recognizing now, like anytime I do go to Uber Eats or Postmates or whatever, it's because I either waited too long to like get hungry, or I'm like, I just don't want to cook. Like, I just don't want to cook. That being said, I think another big part of this is not just about the budgeting, and my financial guide makes this very clear to me, and it's something I've known this whole time and I just avoid. It's not about like, how are you spending your money? It's, do you need to make more money? And my question or my answer to that, because I looked at my budget of how much does my life cost, I don't even know how I'm living because it doesn't connect. Like, and it's like, all right, what's all the stuff coming in? And I was like, what's the African me? Or he's like, like doing those math problems and shit, like crunching.
It's my life right now.
Shout out Nollywood. But I was like, oh, like, it's not about saving all the time. It's not about how you're spending it. Sometimes you need to make more money. And so for me, and especially as a business owner, half of the battle and what he's helping me work with too is assessing my work and assessing the services, and not even just all that, because that could be cute, but like, hey, maybe one of your goals needs to be you do at least 10 proposals a month, or at least how much are you getting out, right? What can you control? So he had me kind of think about that. What things do I control? I can't control if somebody says yes or no to working with me, but I can control if I got 20 proposals out versus 0.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing too, like really paying attention to what you're doing and your activities, your habits, to just see where the dots aren't connecting.
And I love that. And I also love that it's not like, oh, you're just a terrible person. It's because you enjoy Starbucks and all these things. Like, no, like, someday, exactly, get your Starbucks, live your life. Sometimes you could opt to make coffee at home or get the cheaper drink, maybe not always the super large. That'll probably help with other things. But also not feeling so bad about money. Like, so you said that, and when you start talking about
like
things
when you
not
spend
matching
it, does it feel good? It should feel good when you're spending it.
Exactly. And not also stressful. Like, I kind of had a mini meltdown. Was that yesterday? No. This morning? Was that that might have, no, it was yesterday morning. One of these recent mornings, I looked at my bank account and at my budget, because I'm in the process. I told y'all I'm gonna get it together by the end of the year. And I was like, damn, bro, like, you just need to stop doing everything
stop
today.
Breathing.
Stop breathing. Stop moving.
That's
stop
how I be feeling.
Driving your car. Like, sit down.
It's too expensive to stop breathing. I was talking to somebody yesterday, like, the casket gonna run your family about 30, 40, 50K. Like,
we
for the
already
funeral,
talked about that. We don't want caskets. But,
but I'm just saying, like, dying is expensive.
Dying
so
is
like,
mad expensive.
At least I'm not gonna be hungry.
Dog, I would be on somebody's GoFundMe.
Right, like, I don't want my family making t-shirts, man. Like,
don't put me on no clouds. Don't put no airbrush around me.
I actually don't care. I hope y'all make that shit. That shit better be fire.
Okay, well, there might be some on Carlie's Couch website. You said I gotta make more money.
Wow. You gonna make some merch of my obituary early?
You know, cool. I think somebody might actually buy that hoe. That's
I'll buy that shit.
Can you pose? I'm gonna have Damo shoot you. Like,
I'll do that shit. Put some clouds behind me. The whole shit. You know how I look. And be like, put the dates. Put whatever you want.
Can you wear a do-rag though?
Absolutely. Okay, whatever.
There we go. So I got a plan to help me make some more money for this next year.
Oh gosh!
But it's starting there, and also not feeling bad when you spend it. Like, you should feel good and confident. But the first step is knowing where the hell all your money is coming from and going to, because that is something I cannot answer at this moment. Like, all those things y'all are subscribed to or try to get a free trial of, but forgot to cancel. Shout out to all that money coming out of your bank account this month. And making sure you're aware of it. There's actually a setting on your iPhone where you can turn all of those off and figure out where they are. So Google that. Shout out to Nicole for showing that on Instagram. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. That's helpful, because I think I do a lot of for the free accounts, and sometimes I do forget, and they be getting me.
The only one that wouldn't let me do that, what was it recently? Oh, they got smart. Apple TV, the Apple TV Plus app. We got a free year for something. You know how everything's connected with something. So I got a free year. but you still put your information in. It's like, and after a year, we'll start charging you. Well, I said, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go unsubscribe, because, they usually let you have it till then. They said, once you unsubscribe, you will not actually get to have any free trial, and you can't re-sign in to use the free trial. So, like, once you're out, you're done. So I was like, let me set that alarm. So, or a year from now, it's like, I did a couple months earlier, but that's the only one I was like, they got smart. Because for most of them, you can just still subscribe, unsubscribe, and use the free trial. But
or use a different email.
Yeah. That's what I used to do when I was like too poor, before I got started paying for Tidal. I think I got the free Tidal for like 5 different emails I had, which is a money saving tip. If you need to do what you got to do, but
and if you're organized with it, because if not, they'll get you.
But it just it just shouldn't be all of that, right? All them gymnastics. And what Carlie said was a super duper duper important thing that maybe in the last, I'll give myself maybe 8 years or so. Like, my dad would always kind of say it as I was older, not when I was younger. Maybe he was just learning when they were doing their stuff. But pay yourself first. And, this is your money. And it's like, why are you working to spend all of your money and you're not giving yourself any of it? So for me, that was part of something that I'd learned. And a book I enjoy and that I think is really good and changed my mindset a lot about money was it's The Richest Man in Babylon. So The Richest Man in Babylon was a great book to me because it starts out with these two guys, like, they're watching this and it's historical, like back in the day, it's fiction, but they're watching this rich guy come through town. They're like, yo, why don't we have that? And we can have that, right? But it starts with first getting information. So they went to that person. It's like, yo, what did you do? How did you do it? How often do we talk to people about, like, how did you make money, or how do you make money, right? Yep. People who are successful in that way, or that you have that relationship with, right? Like, don't tweet somebody random and like ask them that, of course. And in my case, that's like going to a financial person. Like, I teach me, because it's something very much that I think we have to be taught. So kind of think about that, like, okay, first getting that knowledge from people who are doing it, keyword doing it. Outside of that, the biggest thing in that book too was paying yourself first. And I think they said the 10%, like, no matter what you do, pay yourself first. And I know that kind of also gets a bad rep, and I see this on Twitter, and this is what annoys me about social media, is that people are very extreme in how they answer stuff, or that you're being a little obtuse when you answer, like, well, how can I save 10% on nothing if I'm not making anything? I get what you're saying, but also in these cases, even if it's 1%, 2%, whatever, there's something you can put to the side. If you have to dip into it. You know what I mean? If something happens, but why even approach that negatively? If somebody's like, pay yourself first, 10%, why have that negative mindset towards it? Anyway, caveat over, they talk about 10% to yourself. Cool. I started doing it then. Same thing happened to me where I did it for a little bit, car broke down or something, used it all, didn't really do it again, or, dipped into it, got hungry one day, something happened maybe, like, just kind of did it, but didn't take it super serious. And now with the plan I'm on now, and also as a business owner, we had to change that. And he said, well, the 10%, that is actually a little too ambitious for you, because honestly, of the balance of how much goes out and how much I want to go out versus what was coming in, I needed to make it make sense. But also he was like, he wouldn't really necessarily say 10% to just anyone anyway. And so for me, every time I get paid, I put 3% in a profit account, but then from the rest, I have to put 10% in a tax account because I'm a business owner. So I do have these two other accounts that I'm putting money in before I then, from my business account, before I send my salary now to myself, because as a business owner, it's also easy for everything to come in and everything's everything. And it's like, well, how much am I making? How much does it cost for the business? You know what I mean? Like, this isn't my money. If this was real, and that helps you also price yourself better and more efficiently, because it's like, how much goes into making this run? How much is this computer, these programs, all this stuff, these people helping me? Not just like, how much do I think it's worth for me to do this one task or this project? And so if I think about it that way, it's like, all right, a lot of the money now still goes right back into your work, which it was anyway, but now it's more structured. If it's like, all right, I know how much I spend a month, so I know how much my air quote salary needs to be, which means I really need to be bringing in like 8 times, 10 times, whatever much more, right? So now I have a better idea of what should the money look like. it's cute if I made like a few $1,000s or something, or I might feel good about something like that. And so anyway, I say all that to say now it's very clear, like I have money in like 20 different accounts, but you know, it's all somewhere for a certain reason, and everything that comes in doesn't necessarily go straight to me.
Which is good, and it's about knowing.
But then I'd be dipping in because I keep going over my dieting. But I'm not dipping into my profit or tax, so that's a good thing. Yeah, sometimes I'll dip back into over the salary part, because I'm still used to all of that was mine. But
I think that's important also as a business owner to make sure that you're paying yourself, because it can be so easy. Like if this month was a little tight to skip on your salary, but then you put all that work and you're doing all of these things. And so figuring out also what that looks like and make sure that you're maintaining that.
And it helps me have a clear idea of what I want to be bringing in, because now it's different than just maybe saying like, oh, the 10K or the whatever. Like now it's totally different, because it's like, oh, like it has to go through all these filters and all this stuff. And if I say I want it to be successful, it's not just thinking about how much money do I want in my pocket right now. It's how much is in all these different spaces and is there to work with.
Yeah. And I love that. I'm still working on all of those things. And as a business owner, there's a hard learning curve to figure out how to do it. And after doing it so many years, like I think that's what made me want to avoid it so long. It's because it feels like you're untangling all this stuff. Like everything was so everywhere. Like it was so much to feel like I was untangling. And then like I had to change. So once I made like, this is my profit account, this one that I had, I changed that. Like that's the one where I'm going to put all the tax stuff. This is the one I'm going to put this, etc. Now it's like looking at everything, that, especially the automatic things that come out of your account, all that stuff. Which one does it go to the right card, the right account? I had to move things around because everything was coming from different places. So just like making sure I know what's coming in and I know what I'm spending makes a huge difference. But I'm personally still in the stage of like, damn, I'm spending that much. So like I'm not like perfected in it or my budget or all of that either, but it does put a lot more pressure on me, which is why I haven't answered George's email yet. But it does put a lot of pressure on me now, I think, to make more. Or like I'm really feeling like, oh, okay, like it was cute, like it felt good because I was fine, but now I see what I could do to do a lot more. And so they say that the average like millionaire has like 7 streams of income and all of those things, and talking about passive. If you're like, yeah, I want 7 streams of income, but trying to figure out what that means or what that can look like for you, one of my favorite financial books is The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. He also did Rich Dad Poor Dad. And so that's what he's probably most famous for. But the Cash Flow Quadrant divides up the way you make money into 4 quadrants and really helps you think through where you are like employed or I read it a long time ago, so I'm not going to remember all the quadrants, but ways to transition into other ones. And he has like also the similar lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad, like tied into ways to make money.
What do you mean when you say ways they do what with each other? Like what
the ways that they connect. So there's 4 quadrants and 4 ways to make money. So when you're thinking of the streams of income, if you need to,
so that's to help you brainstorm how to make money.
Kind of, I would say more so to understand the ways that all of those work together. So if you are employed, like, but you also want to own your own business, like what does that look like versus owning?
Oh, you're not filling out the quadrants.
No, you're not filling out a quadrant. It's a label. It's 4 cash flow quadrants and 4 ways that money flows to you through the things that you're doing. And so it helps you think through those things, but also just get a better understanding, but then also probably brainstorm and be like, oh, well, I thought this was passive, but it's not really passive because I'm the only person in my business, so that's not the same thing. And so just thinking through money, it also, like I said, has a lot of good lessons and things to also help you shift your mindset a little bit into putting into a, not a realistic, I don't really like that word, but a more manageable, actionable way for you. So cash flow quadrant.
Yeah, and then what's his name? I will teach you how to be rich. I will teach you to be rich. Sethi. I forgot his first name. It starts with R, I think. But his last name is Sethi. And I haven't read his book, but I listened to a lot of podcast episodes that he was the guest on. And he says a lot of cool things, too. He's the same with the, like, yo, you don't have to cut the Starbucks out. Like, that's not the problem. So I would definitely, like, think about your behaviors. That was one of the kind of the main things we talked about. Behaviors, narrative, relationship with money. Consider how you're spending money, and if you don't know how you're spending it or where it's coming from, figuring that out, and then you're kind of able to see, all right, what is the problem? Like with mine, I see all this stuff that's going out, and then I'm like, so what you got coming in? It's like, okay. Now I see why it's like, I'm like in the middle of the month at a certain place, and now I'm like trying to get ahead, but it feels like I'm behind because as I get stuff, I need it.
Yeah,
and so I don't want to get money as I need it.
Oh, Jesus.
And now I'm feeling thankful because like towards the end of the year, this year, like I haven't had to think about money at all. Like
That's
I'm not
amazing.
here booming on Uber Eats over my budget.
Do you know your favorite emoji, the one that's like,
yeah,
that's how I feel right now about money.
I do too.
So I'm working on it.
I gotta figure out my block for pulling it in the way I should always feel like that. But quite frankly, it's weird because I want to say like I don't be caring, like I don't care about money, but that can't be right because when I have it, that's when I'm in my best mood. I feel the best when I've been productive, I always say, and I feel the best, I'm in my best mood knowing I have bread, like just knowing I have money. Because on the days that I don't, like everything is just stressful.
So
it's
like
just
security.
too stressful. Yeah, but I also don't care about the security because like right now, if you ask me, I can tell you how much money I have right now. Yeah. I have no idea. I know I had some.
But you know you have enough.
Probably until that one time you just like ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, like
the process did not go through.
Right, probably. But yeah, but for real, like I couldn't tell you, but now I can like go in boom, boom, boom and see like, oh, okay, like I know what's going on. And then I'm excited because I know that the beginning of my year, I know what I'm expecting, what's going on there. So it'll be a lot of changes. Yeah. And you know, that's helped me too, being more aware of my financial situation, not saying that in like a bad way, but like, you know, my finances is how now I'm like, okay, what is my budget for a different healthcare plan? What is a budget for towards purchases I need to make, towards like office space if I want to do that, towards contractors that I want to bring in because I'm reframing stuff. Now it just makes more sense because I did mention about I have the personal budget, but I also have the business budget too. And so also separating where is that money coming from, like with my actual business account and not everything all just coming out of, you know what I mean? Like my account and Venmo and everything else. So, you just got to organize it, man. Get it organized so you can get a clear picture. And from there, I would say check out some of the books that we read. I love The Richest Man in Babylon. Carlie mentioned You're a Badass, which is really good. Cash Flow Quadrant, I haven't read that, but I like Robert Kiyosaki. He's pretty good. And again, like don't be discouraged by some of the messaging because in some financial books, the messaging can be kind of like
harsh.
Bro, you don't know, like you know, like it's different when you really haven't had bread. Like
exactly.
Sometimes people are saying stuff like, "Go get money." It's like,
can I say one thing that's really frustrating? It's like, couple pays off $800,000 in student loan debt in 2 years. Yeah, don't come at me. Hold on. If you living in somebody's basement or your mama paying your rent and I'm real hype right now, clearly, or somebody gave you $1 million, don't talk to me about paying off that stuff. Like if you ain't ever been broke or been hungry, like I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't. And so I appreciate like these resources, at least they never made me feel like that or made me look at them like,
Yeah. But I said that because like if you catch yourself kind of feeling like that, be like, you know, like consider your own situation, but also do keep an open mind because it's also like they'll say, go make money. And it's like, yeah, go make money, you know? So yeah. What's the plan going to be? But look at it like, all right, how can I do this instead of, well, I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's real touchy-feely because I get the frustration with it. But money can be easier to get.
And you just have to take the limits off. Like I said, I'm still not in, I wouldn't say the healthiest place. I mean, the healthiest place I've ever been when it comes to money and thinking about it. But I know there are still some things that I'm working on. Just don't beat yourself up too bad about it. And don't think it's something that's not possible or not manageable for you because you haven't seen it done or it hasn't came to pass in your life yet. Yeah,
now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever been healthy with my finances in a way that to me healthy is like, could I even take care of like more than half the year? You know what I mean? If I had nothing come in, I don't think I've ever been able to do that, honestly. But I've always been cool. Like I wasn't living in a tent. Actually, I did live in my car for like a week before. So that was a thing. Like I've had a lot of points, but I've never felt like, oh man, like I can't get money, or I've never felt like, oh man, it's just there in those times. And so I want to feel like a consistent fire to do the things that will bring in more because I know what those things are.
Yeah. And so I would say do some research and figure out what those things are for you, because they might look very different, but it does all start with getting that mindset and that perspective right, and then also knowing what the hell you're doing with your money.
Yep.
I cannot reiterate that.
Get your money right for 2020. At least go into 2020 with the plan to check what you're doing, be aware, how much are you spending next month for January, like really pay attention to that, and revisit.
And let us know how you're doing. Screenshot at Carlie's Couch on Instagram and Twitter.
Yep. DM me the back of your cards with the CVV and expiration date and your mom's maiden name.
My Cash App is Carlie Carpio. Just letting y'all know, just in case. You know what I'm saying?
Just in case. But Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy birthday. My birthday is coming up, and I'm super hype about it.
Oh, that is true. It might have been past this episode. I don't even know.
Okay, well, we'll see.
We didn't calculate that, but
we can try to calculate everything else. But this week's question is, Alexia, what is the best gift you've ever given?
This might not really be the best, but it's one of the most extreme gifts I've given.
Okay.
It was also one of the dumbest, because I was not in a relationship with this young man. But as a graduation gift from undergrad, I got my now ex, but at the time I wasn't with him yet either, not yet. I got him some courtside tickets sitting behind Bron, because he loves LeBron, sitting behind LeBron at a game. And so I got the tickets, and then we had to drive. No, first I had to drive to him. Then we had to drive to the actual game, did the whole game thing. But it was so crazy because they were so expensive. And I definitely had used some refund money from my grad school at the time. And that's an example. I guess that goes into this, how I am. I was like, oh, I got plenty of money. And so, I'm going to spend $2K on these tickets. And it didn't matter. I didn't feel bad at all. I still don't. It's not anything I regret. It was fun as hell. And it was really worth it to me, because I was like, man, he really was nobody's ever done anything like this. But now I'm like, yeah, that was dumb. You know what I mean? I wasn't even with the guy. It was doing too much. But that was definitely I feel like I went down history in his life for that.
Yeah, if he was a rapper, I'm sure you would be on some tracks referenced. Maybe in an intro or outro and a voicemail. Look out for Alexia and somebody's voicemail. Hopefully I make her mixtape. We'll see. Hopefully that comes out in 2020. She's been talking about it forever. But I ain't seen nothing drop.
You won't. I mean, you ain't going to see it being worked on.
But I might make one of those. I need to start calling her and leaving her voicemails.
You gonna get blocked. That's what the fuck you gonna get. You should go be like, add me on the mixtape. Blocked. Don't mess it up. No,
I won't mess it up. I like making people things and doing stuff like that. And so it's funny, I asked this question, but I'm like, what has been the best gift? A lot of them. I'm very thoughtful with things that I give and ways that I do things, but I created a whole experience for someone who hasn't went camping before, and did this whole indoor thing, set up a tent and cooked and did all this stuff, made campfire foods and things like that, just because that was something they expressed they wanted to experience. So I made it happen.
Stuff like that is nice when it's thoughtful. Yeah. I think those are the best gifts without having to spend $2,000.
Yeah, but those are nice too. I wouldn't be upset with a $2,000 gift or a $200 date.
Oh man! All right, we're out of here.
Bye, y'all.